today we're finally going to be doing another video, and this time we're going to be doing turn-based mechanics. And I have this wonderful scene here that I put together and have published, so if you want to follow along, go ahead and get started. You can find it labeled as turn-based combat before, and yeah, what I have here in this scene is just some simple stuff that I've put together through basically an amalgamation of tutorials, which would be animation, UI tutorial, like so, and basically we're going to take this existing scene and we're going to go ahead and turn it into an actual functioning, like, turn-based battle. So what we want to do first off is we want to understand what turn-based actually is and how our game is going to work. So basically in this game we have 4 menus. We have the attack animation of our player, or when our player is attacking basically, and then we have the attack turn of our enemy, and then after that it would go back to the main screen like so, and then there's also the win-lose. So since we have all those different screens, well, basically states our game can be in, we want to make something that can control the state of our game. So that's basically called in game development a state machine. And in order to do that, there's really something simple that we can use, which is just a selector from our logic and processing section. So if we go ahead and take a selector, we can see that it has different selections, and these can be different states. So we want to go ahead and count out how many different states our game can be in. So we have the main screen right here, which is just the menu, and this isn't functional yet, but we will be making that. So we have the state of being in a menu, the state of being in the attack menu, of being in the item menu, and the special menu, and then the confirmation, the flee. So that would be 4 states on their own, so that would be 5 states total at the moment. Then there's, of course, the attack animation, so that's 5, and then the enemy attack animation, or enemy attack round, that's 6 states, and then the end game state, so that's 7 states. So we're going to have the selector be in number of ports 7, so that's 7 states we can deal with. Now, of course, we also need to control this, so we're going to go ahead and want to get a sensors and input controller sensor. I'm going to go ahead and delete the wires coming out of it because we don't want to depossess it. And we're going to go ahead and go into the properties and force possession. This way we will always take control of the game when we start playing. And right now I have this music turned off because it is a little bit distracting, but once we're finished we can go ahead and turn it back on. So first of all, our main state is our menu. So the A is going to be the first selected state, so that can go ahead and plug into our menu. And then next, we want to go ahead and be able to control our menu. So we're actually going to go ahead and open this up. And I'm going to rearrange this a little bit because I want it to be as clean as possible for you guys so it's easier for you to read. The demo I published is not that clean, so I went ahead and imported the displays here and made them a bit cleaner so we can work with them easier. And we're gonna go ahead and do this by scratch, and it's just a simple menu. So basically we want to get the input of the D-pad as well as the stick. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna go ahead and get a node from our logic processing section. So we're gonna go ahead and do, let's just call this movement or selection, I guess, or selector or something like that. Let's call it selection. That works. Make the controller icon, and then of course we want to do confirm selection. Alright, and what this is going to go ahead and do is going to control our selectors. So what we want is, what this is basically a two-dimensional array, because we have X, which is left and right. There's two items on the left and right, and then of course there's up and down, which is two rows. And so basically there's two rows, two columns. So we want two selectors so we can select between up and down and left and right. So we're going to go ahead and get a selector, just copy it for now. And one cool thing about selectors is that this next and previous output, you can actually just plug in to the next output, and a negative input to this will actually go to the previous. So that's cool. And we'll make things a little bit easier. But one thing that Dreams, of course, has to do complicated on this is if we want to use D-pad input, we're going to have to use this third page, which has local D-pad. Otherwise, if we used the second page, the directional buttons, which would make it a lot easier, it would be affected by the camera, and that would, since our camera moves around a lot, we do not want that because it would just completely screw up this system. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make another mic chip, and this is just going to arrange our D-pad so we can actually use it. And that's just basically taking two combiners and then a third combiner, and we're going to change this one to the stick type, and we'll go ahead and make a output for this with a node, D-pad stick, and we won't bother with making input nodes because that's a little bit too complicated, but we'll have left and right on the top for X and up and down on the bottom for Y, and then the combiner we'll just plug on into the right, and then we actually need to plug these in. So right is positive and left is negative for this top one because that's X, which is left and right, and then up is technically in Dreams up is negative, because the media molecule designers like to invert controls by default, and they think that's default, but it's not. But we'll do up is positive, actually, because that's what we want. And of course, down is negative. There we go. And we're gonna, but since this is only like two columns, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. It just, you know, that's just something to know. And now that's all self-contained and clean. And the easier part of it is we can just go to the third page and get left stick local. And we're going to go ahead and plug that into our selection node on our menu here. And of course we're going to have the range D-pad stick output go in there as well. So that way we can control with the sticks or the left stick or the D-pad. Alright, next is actually on the same page here, the controller sensor. You don't have to use this if you don't want to, but there's an enter and an exit button here that you can use, and that will make it so the input is relative to what nation you're in. Because if you're in Japan, circle is actually to select something. So if you were to use enter, if you were in Japan, if we were to hover over this, it'll tell us. Typically, this is circle in Japan and X everywhere else. So we can actually use this, and it'll just be a nice little bonus for anybody in Japan. So we're using the enter button on the controller, which is technically X if you're anywhere but in Japan. So now we have a way to move up and down, left and right, and to confirm our selection. But we actually need to plug that into our selectors right now. So this is going to be our columns. So we have column, which is actually up and down, so I'll place that down here just to match with the input. And then we have row. And then we're going to go ahead and want to split this selection, so we can go ahead and get for our X and Y. So X is going to go ahead and plug into the move to next output for our row, and Y is going to go ahead and move next output for our column. We're using a splitter for that, keep in mind, otherwise it's not going to work if you just directly plug it in. Alright, and now we actually want to get another text displayer, and this is going to just to show what our selection is. I'm going to go ahead and extend out our microchip here to give us a little bit more room. And I'm just going to grab a text displayer. And this is just going to be a little dot to show that this is what's selected. And in order to do this pretty easily, we're just going to hide the text box, hide the shadow and border. Then for our text, we're going to input white underscore circle. And it'll give us a white circle like so. And then to make this even easier for us, we're going to go over to the alignment page, make it left aligned and middle aligned. That way we just have a very simple text box that has less things to deal with. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and play time so we can see all the other screens. I'm going to go ahead and turn on grid snap, and I'm going to try to look as parallel with the horizon as possible. Otherwise you're not going to get good grid snapping for text displayers. It's a little bit annoying. It's something I hope they fix in the future. But I'm going to move it down to 32 times, and I'm going to go ahead and move it down right next to attack like so. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go grab a keyframe from our animate section. And this is to move around this little dot. And this is just to visualize our menu. So I'm going to go ahead and just set it to that position right there. As you can see, it recorded the position once I grabbed the dot. And I'm going to copy this keyframe 3 times like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the other keyframes. So we have the upper left, now we want upper right. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and delete that keyframe in the lower right, because we can use the upper right one better for that. And we're going to go ahead and move it down next to flee. And then of course the lower left keyframe. There we go. Now all we need to do for actually displaying this is a couple of AND gates. Now this can be messy, but it's not too difficult to visualize, because this is row, so that's left and right, and then this is column, so that's up and down. So we just need 4 AND gates from our logic and processing section, like so. Looks like we need a little bit more room here for it to be clean. Unfortunately, sometimes logic can be pretty messy like this. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn off grid snap for now. Alright, so now we have row, which is left and right, so I'm going to do this for the top and bottom ones on the left, for A on the output, and then B is going to be for the right-sided ones. Alright, and that's A into all the AND gates, and then we're going to have the column, and A is going to go ahead and be for our top, so A into the upper left, and A into the upper right, and then B into the lower left and B into the lower right. Then all we have to do is connect the AND gates to the keyframes, like so. And now if we go ahead and play, we should be able to actually move around this selection with the stick or the D-pad. It's a little bit spastic with the stick because the input is a little bit floaty, like it's not directly one, so the D-pad is a bit better for this, but it works. Either way, and now we actually need to get the selection logic done. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and get 4 nodes here, and each one of them are going to go for a different menu. So we have attack, item, special, and flee. So let's go ahead and label those. And in this tutorial, we're only going to be doing the attack and special menus, not the flee or item, just to let you know, because this is just the basics. Alright. Now we just need to hook all of these up, basically. So what we can do to make this easy is we can actually just turn these on when this is pressed. So in order to do that, what we're going to go ahead and do is turn them off by default. So I'm just going to select all of them and turn it off. Then using a keyframe, I'm going to go ahead and turn all of these back on. Alright, so now when this keyframe is active, it's going to go ahead and turn on these nodes. So now we can just hook up these AND gates in the same order. So we have the attack, then we have item, then we have special, and of course flee. So now we have a simple selection and we're able to select at will, basically. One important thing that we need to do first before we go any further is this output is actually going to cause problems in the future, because if you hold down the button, as soon as it is turned on, it can activate the next option in the next screen. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to use a signal manipulator, and we're going to change it to pulse mode, which is the second option. So that's just going to give us a 1 frame activation. So instead of holding the button down, it's going to act like if you tapped it, but like for only a frame. And we're going to actually use that instead for our confirm selection. Alright, so now we have the menu logic done, and we can select attack, item, special, or flee. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we want those options to select from our state machine. And basically we're going to have the states for those menus. And we can just directly wire across, like so. So attack would be state B, item would be state C, special would be state D, and flee is state E. And that leaves us with F and G, which I think we're actually missing a state. Yeah, I think we are. So we have the main menu, all the screens, and then we have we want to have a scene or a state for just the animation. So we're going to have 8 ports on this selector, not 7. So that would be F, which is the attack animation for the player, and then the enemy's turn for G, and then of course the actual end state, which would end game, so if you win or lose. And one thing that we want to have to go ahead and do here is we want to be able to move back to this main menu. And in order to do that, it's pretty easy. We're just going to get a AND gate, and we're going to plug this AND gate into A. And we know that we want to be able to go back into this main menu if we're in any of the sub-menus, but not if we are in any of these animation states, like animating the player, or if the enemy is attacking, or if the game is ended. We don't want to go back to the menu. So we're going to go ahead and grab a NOT gate, and whenever any of these 3 states are selected, then we cannot go back to the main menu, so we're using a NOT gate. So if these states are not active, then we can go ahead and go back to the main menu when we press the circle button or the back button, which is also on the third page with the enter button. So we're going to go ahead and grab that from the controller sensor right here, back, and plug it directly into our AND gate for A. So now we have a way to get back to the main menu when we enter those other menus. So we can go ahead and test it out now, see what it's like. I mean, we don't have any of the other menus made yet, but we can test out going back and forth. So attack, and then we can go back, like so. So now we have all these states, and basically what we want to do now is the actual attacking menu, and then we'll be doing the special menu, which is just a copy of the attack menu really, with a few extra caveats. So I'm going to go ahead and make our microchip a little bit bigger here so we know what we're doing, more space. I'm going to move these away for now because we do not need them, but we are going to have them over here. So what we want to do is, excuse me, having a little bit of a sniffles problem, is make another microchip, and this is going to be our attack menu. Alright, and just gonna color it and give it as icon, all nice. And of course this is gonna turn on only in our attack state, so we're gonna plug in the B output to our attack menu, and this is gonna take the same inputs as our main menu, so I'm just gonna copy these over because why not, we can use them like so. So we have the selection node and the confirm selection and the splitter, and we're going to need them in here as well. Now we're going to want to go ahead and display our options in here, and if we go ahead and look at our player, I have 3 animations on our player. So we have a shooting attack, a melee attack, and a BFG attack. So if we go ahead and play, we can actually see what these look like. So we're going to shoot, a melee, and BFG. Now, the BFG doesn't have the same fireball effect as the demo does, because I forgot to make that change in this scene. But we could do that later if we wanted to, but this is just the mechanics that we're focusing on. The animations don't really matter. And if you want to know how to do animations, I have plenty of animation tutorials. I'll put a link to my animation playlist in the description if you want to know how to do that. But for now, we want to focus on our attacks. So again, we're going to go and copy over most of this. And instead of having 4 options, we're only going to have 2. So all we really need is the up and down. So we're going to need just one selector. And actually, I'm going to delete that selection. And I'm going to select this, select your ball, and the up and down keyframes, just to have them. Alright. And we just need a selector here. And A is going to go into our first keyframe, and B will go into their second. And of course, we still need to split this splitter. Oh no, no we don't. That's X, right? Well, we need Y. So we're going to get this second output here. Output B. And the reason why it's an X here is because we don't actually have an input, but we can go ahead and grab it from the properties panel. So now we are able to select these keyframes here. And of course, what we're going to want to do is change this text here. So we have a shooting attack and a melee attack. Now what I did in the demo is I had the shoot attack deal more damage, but it was less accurate. It was only guaranteed to hit 75% of the time. And the melee attack dealt less damage, but it hit 100% of the time. So what I did to represent that is I had the names of the attacks, and then on the right side what I did is I went ahead and did power or damage. I can't remember what exactly it was, but we'll just do damage. And for the gun, shoot would be 10, and then we have A for accuracy, and that would be 75%. And as you can see here, it's not going to fit perfectly, so we're going to go ahead and expand that. I'm going to turn on the grid here, do it just enough to fit, and I'm actually going to go ahead and move this over so we can see all of it, like so. And then we need flee to be changed, so I'm just going to copy this one, because why not? And we want the damage to be 5. These could be pretty much anything you want, but you just need to balance everything. I don't know why I have the sniffles. Okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead and move this one down into the position that it should be, like so. No, please don't. How am I having this much of a hard time? Okay, that's good. And now we can only select between up and down, and now we actually want this selection screen to do something. So what we're going to go ahead and do is this confirm selection, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing as we did over here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these keyframes because I can, and it's useful. Love doing it this way. Copy, copy, copy. And of course we have two different attacks. We want the shoot, and we want the melee. Alright. And we're just going to plug in our selector A and B directly. And we're also going to do another output. I'm just going to copy one of these. And this is going to be confirmed selection. And that is going to activate from either A or B. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because we'd have to plug both of these into into our change state. Because once we activate our attack, we're going to go ahead and move into our animation state. So I'm going to go ahead and change the icon of this to the light bulb. Wanted to close that. Okay, so now our selection menu for attacks is done. We don't need the menu for right now. And we're going to go ahead and hook up everything. So we need both of the D-pad and the stick things. You know what I'm going to do? Because I don't want to see it moving around. I'm going to go ahead and grab a node so I can clean this up here. I'm going to make it no port, and this is just going to be selection. And I'm just going to plug these in so I can organize this way better. It'll act as one output instead of two. That way we can see what we're doing. The wires aren't going across our state machine, yada yada yada. Okay, so selection is going to go ahead and go into our selection input. And I'm actually going to go ahead and move this up quite a bit. That way we have more room for other things in the future. And the way we have it now, we want the bottom output here, confirm selection, That's going to go into our animation state, which is F. So I'm going to drag this and sort of slide up. So it's neat because that's the most important thing here, is that you understand what is happening. Right. And now we have the shoot and melee options. So here's the next part, which is kind of difficult, kind of easy. And this is going to be our attack processor. Now the hardest part of this is, well, we're going to name it player attack processor because the NPC one is significantly different. The hardest part of this is to get the accuracy thing. So in order to do that, we're actually going to pull a microchip from the Dreamverse because it's just easier. So I'm going to go ahead and search, and what we want is we're going to look for probability, and I'm going to do recent. Okay, where is it? I know I have it. Okay, percent chance calculator by ATM Live, 0% to 100%. And I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open up our player attack processor. And we're going to need this for later, but we need to make a modification of this. A couple things. So first off is this output here is always going to be on, but we don't want it always on. So what we're going to do is when this roll number is activated, this is going to be on for a second. So we need to frame delay it, so this is on after this has done its work, after all this has done its processing. So we're going to get a calculator, and this is called a frame delay. And a frame delay is pretty easy to make. We're just going to take the A output right here of operand 1 in the properties, and we're going to plug it into operand 2. And then the operand 2 output, that is the frame delay. That is the output we want. And that's going to go ahead and plug into the result power, this node here. And then we're going to plug in the roll number output into A of our calculator here. So basically what's happening is the roll number input is found, that's plugged into the calculator, and then the calculator is trying to add these two numbers, but you're telling it to instead set B to A, and that basically gives it a frame delay, and then that output is sent to the result. And we're going to use that a little bit later, but for now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and get 3 nodes, and it's going to be for 3 attacks, including our special attack. So we have, of course, the shooting attack, then we have our melee, and then we have BFG. Alright, go ahead and change the icon of these. And what we want to go ahead and do is, I believe what I had was counters. And what these do is basically tell us that we have started an animation and we're waiting for it to finish. So what do we do when we are waiting for an animation to finish? Well, we want to get another node, and this is just for animation finished. And as soon as the animation is finished, we're going to go ahead and deal the damage and go to the next, not scene, but state. So we're going to go ahead and reset all of these counters with this and hook up our nodes to our counters. So basically this will tell us that we're in that current animation for that attack, and then when it's done we'll go ahead and check the probability to hit, and if we hit, we're going to go ahead and deal the damage. So we're going to have to do a couple things. Right now, as you can see over here, this puppet doesn't have much logic on it. It's just the animations, and I have a node here, attack animation hit. Well, this is really just means that the animation is finished. So we're going to actually just go ahead and go over here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab this animation node here. I'm going to rename it. I don't know why I didn't do animation finished. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug in that to here, and plug in both of these, the node on the player and on the enemy, into the one on the main big microchip right here, like so. And then we actually want to do health. Now, health is something that is a little tricky. We could do the health managers, or in here I have variables for your special points or mana points, whatever you want to call it, your ultimate, basically. Now, I chose to do health managers for the health because it's a little bit easier to deal with. It's a little bit less logic. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And I'm going to go ahead and just add health managers to the player and the enemy. Now, 100 health is fine for both of them. So that's what we're going to just give them, just regular health managers. And we're going to go ahead and add those nodes to our large microchip and then plug them into our display here, as you can see. So we need 4 nodes, and it's going to be for our friendly, max HP, and then we have friendly, current HP, then of course enemy, max, and current. And I'm going to just give them a better icon than that. Alright, so friendly max HP is going to plug into our max health on our friendly display or friend display. Current HP as well on the top, current health. And then the same thing is going to be done for our enemy. Alright, and now we're just gonna go ahead and hook that up. And we're probably going to change this later down the line. In the advanced tutorial for this, or the next part, whatever that is going to be called. I'm not sure at this point, because there's a lot of things we can do with this other than what we're doing right now, which is just very basic gameplay. Like, it functions as a game, but you can't use it in a larger game as a system, because it's entirely a game on its own. So I'm just having this basic tutorial here, because what we're doing here in this video, you can't randomize like an enemy encounter, you can't have more than one opponent, you can't have more than one ally, so we're just making a very basic display and play scene at the moment, and then in future tutorials that's what we're going to be adding to this system. That is, of course, if you guys want that. Alright, so now that we have that finished, what we want is, basically, we want to know if this has been active and then turns off, then we want to execute its function, which is, of course, dealing the damage to the enemy. So, what we're going to go ahead and do is get a signal manipulator, and there's very special functions on a signal manipulator. I've talked about them before, but they're pretty confusing. So if you open up the properties of the signal manipulator and go to customer mapper, there's edge mode, which do certain things depending on the input. And what we want is to pulse at input off. So basically what that does is not, like, as you can see, I can play time in reverse, and it doesn't pulse. But if it has received an input, a positive input, and then turns off, it will pulse. So that way, we can know that it has been active, and then it was turned off. And we're going to do one of these signal manipulators for all of our counters here. And we're going to use this to basically determine if we hit the enemy or not now. So, percent chance, the BFG is going to have a 50% chance. And then the melee has a 100% chance, so we don't even need this, but the shooting has a 75% chance. So we're going to go ahead and change that to 75 here. Right? And then we're just going to plug in these signal manipulators into our percent chance. And we're also going to add a node down here. And this is going to be for end turn. And this happens if any of these signal manipulators go off. A little bit messy, but hey. If it works, don't fix it. But I'm fixing it anyway because I want you guys to be able to read this. Okay, and of course, now we just need to deal the actual damage to our enemy. So we're going to go ahead and get a health modifier. And we're going to open up the properties of this. We want to change the zone size to be very small. And of course, the modifier type needs to be zone in the first place. Right? And we want this to be just about 1 meter in scale. And for this case, the shoot was 10 health. And that's just going to go and plug into the power. And I'm going to copy this after. I'm going to copy it after we set the position of the zone, because we want the zone to be on the enemy itself, so the enemy is damaged like so. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this twice over because we need a health modifier for each attack here. And I'm going to change the properties. So the melee was only 5, and then the BFG is going to be 25. I'm going to go ahead and plug these in. And now we have the player attack processor finished. Now I also had like a camera system set up here to give like different views of the player and the enemy when of course they are doing something, but I figured we didn't really need that in the tutorial. It's not something we need. So if you want that, you can dig into the demo and the microchips are in there. You can go ahead and take those. And I'm going to go ahead and, of course, fix up our inputs. So our attack menu, shoot goes to shoot, and melee goes to melee on our attack processor. And our animation wire, I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit, like so. And of course this end turn is going to make it so we're on the enemy's turn now. So that's going to go to input G, and when the input G is active, we are going to have our enemy take their turn. And then I think we'll almost be done with this basics tutorial. I know it's been quite a long tutorial so far, but we're almost finished. We just have a couple more things. We do need the next screen, actually. We want the special screen, because I want to be able to do our special attack. So this is pretty simple, because there's only one attack here. We just need to, I don't know. We don't even need a selector, basically. We only have the one special attack. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to make another one, but so it's 25 damage and 50% chance to hit. Of course, that's a little bit too small. And BFG. Okay, and when this is active, I'm just going to go ahead and activate a button here, or switch. That's what I mean. I'm actually going to turn these on by default. And turn off this switch, and then animate the switch to turn on. It's different, okay. And we just need that confirm selection input. Oh, and we forgot to do that for the attack menu as well. Strange that I forgot that. Let's go ahead and grab this and plug it in properly. And we need it for special menu as well. And that is turned on when we open up our special menu, so that would be D. And this does the same thing. So shoot is going to go into here, and this is going to plug into F. Man, there's a lot of dead air time when I'm managing wires, but hey, cleanliness is godliness. So now we have player attack processor, the special menu, and the attack menu. So if we wanted to see this, we could actually do that right now. And I could shoot this guy. Oh, you know, the one thing I forgot. The one thing I forgot is to actually play the animation. I don't know how is that stupid to not play the animation, but what we're gonna do is actually play the animation. So yeah, we need keyframes to do that. Keyframes are really easy to work with though, so just gonna grab a keyframe and copy it 2 times and activate the correct switches to play the attack animation. I don't know how I was that silly to not notice that I made that mistake. Okay. Shoot. We're gonna shoot. Why aren't you shooting? Should have activated. Oh. Oh? Oh. Oh. Well. Okay. Well, made another mistake here. I don't know how I keep making these mistakes, but yeah, we're going to turn on these keyframes with the counters themselves. Not the signal manipulators, the counters. There we go. And now it would be the Cacodemion's turn, but it is not his turn. But you could see that he was damaged. Now we just need to do the enemy attack processor, which is going to be extremely similar to this, but we actually need to do AI, so AI isn't that difficult to do, especially when it only has 1 attack. It has 2 technically, so what we're going to have to do, actually, I did a mistake. Special menu in here. This selection, we need a certain percent of our special points to activate it, which is, we need 50% special. So it costs 50 special points to use. And I can't believe I completely glossed over that fact. I don't know how I missed that, but yeah, so the special cost is 50 special points. So if we go in our friend display here, these are our special points, and we're going to output the special percent. So the special percent is 0 to 1. So if 50%, we need our special points to be, so we're going to get a node. This is for special points. Because we don't want to just spam the BFG, do we? I don't think so. And our special points need to be greater than 50%. So 0.5. It needs to be greater than 0.49. That way, if you're at 50%, then you can use the attack. So, I'm going to get an AND gate, and the confirm selection will turn on this keyframe. Alright, you know what? We don't even need this keyframe. We can just directly plug into the switch, like so. Or, we don't even need the switch. We can just plug in directly to the nodes. Alright, that's a lot simpler. I can't believe I forgot that. And, if we use this shoot thing, we want to actually subtract 50 points from our friend display. So what we're going to go ahead and do is add another node here. This is going to be our mana cost, or special cost. And we do need a switch, actually. But we're not going to be using it in the same way you think. So we're going to grab a switch from our sensors and input, and this is going to be for our BFG cost. And our on value, we're going to change that to 50, because we use 50 points in order to use it. And we're going to go ahead and grab a calculator. And we're going to multiply by -1, because we can't do negative values easy in a switch. And we want to subtract from our special cost, or special amount. And our AND gate is going to go ahead and turn that on. So now we're going to go and just plug this into our special points input. And we're going to gain special points whenever a turn is done. So that would be our turn and then the enemy's turn. That would be a turn cycle. And that's how we gain special points, is through that turn cycle. Okay, now, I promise, this is the last thing, which is our enemy AI. Well, it's the second last thing if you want to count the win and losing screen. So, just gonna change this. Oh, and that makes more sense. Player attack. AI attack processing. AI attack processor, and I'm just going to change the color, like, again, to match. And we're going to grab a node, and this is going to be our turn. And then we're going to go ahead and make a copy of this, and this is going to be our end turn node. And we also want our animation finished node as well. And we're going to use this same counter system, but we only want 2 of these counters. And then of course our we need 1% chance thing. Because this special ability is Self-Destruct. It deals a lot of damage, but it kills himself as well, so yeah, but he needs 100% mana or special points to use it, and his health is going to be a certain amount. So our turn, and we also want to get our health. HP's percent, to be precise. Okay, and basically I'm going to go ahead and set up the keyframes first before I forget. Basically, our AI, we want him only to self-destruct if his health is low, because then it's a suicide move, so might as well if you're going to die, right? And we only want it to happen 50% of the time if his health is low. So it's not a guarantee that it'll self-destruct. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and do these keyframes for the fireball and for the self-destruct. And what we're going to go ahead and do is, if it's our turn, we're going to go ahead and wait like a couple of seconds to give the animation a few seconds. It'll look like AI is deciding. So we'll give them about 2 seconds before the actual animation. And then when that is done, we're going to go ahead and decide. So if our health is above 0.25, so if we have more than 25% health, then we're just going to attack normally. So we're going to get an AND gate and plug into our counter here, which is going to activate our signal manipulator, and we'll do the damage here in a moment. I'm going to hook up our animation finished, and that's going to reset our counter and our timer up here. Man, I hate organizing these wires. I wish it did it themselves. I'm going to hook up the counters to our animations as well. And of course, now we want to know the opposite of this. So we're going to get a NOT gate. And another AND gate. So if our health is lower than 24%, then what we're going to go and do is we're going to get a randomizer from our logical processing section. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and input to randomize and randomize. And we'll add that to either counter. So A is going to go into the top counter and B will go into our bottom counter. So this is basically saying that if we, you know what, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, because we want to, it'll glitch out kind of basically, I think, because it'll stay on. It's like the percent chance thing that we have over here that we had to fix. So what we're actually going to be doing is, if this happens, then we're going to go ahead and randomize this, and then we're going to go ahead and let's see here. Yeah, I think we might need another frame delay, to be honest. And an AND gate. 2 AND gates, to be precise. And we're going to get A and B. And this AND gate will go ahead and go into our calculator here. And then we're going to make the frame delay. So A is going to plug into B, and then B will plug into our AND gates like so, and then that will activate our counters. There we go. Because I had a glitch in the demo where I had it really simple in here, and he would explode and fire the thing at the same time, and that's because of this thing with the randomizer. So this way we can be sure he only attacks once, so you don't get double killed with this explosion and a fireball. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and actually get the damage dealt. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the signal manipulators into our end turn. And we're going to grab 2. Well, we actually need another percent chance calculator, because his fireball is basically like our shooting. It's the same dealio. And of course, so this one is 75% chance, and then the Self-Destruct, I'm going to nerf it a little bit, because it had like a really high percent chance of hitting. So, I think, let's do 35% chance. Better than the BFG, but doesn't, it's not as OP as the demo. I'm going to go ahead and grab a health modifier. And we need to make it a zone. Gonna make the zone size just 1. And then the damage, of course, for this top one is only 10. And then for our self-destruct, we want it to be 65. And of course, we want another one actually. So I'm just going to grab that one from our player attack processor. And this one is just to make sure that we die, because we're self-destructing, so the enemy is going to kill itself. So negative 100. And that's going to be activated no matter what. But the probability is going to go ahead and plug into our other health modifiers. And that should be our AI. And now, I think we'll actually be able to battle it out once we connect our nodes here. So our turn, that's going to be G. And then HP percent is going to go ahead and output from our enemy display, health percent. And we need the special percent for the special menu. And I know technically we would want to subtract our special, because this is a special move, the self-destruct, but it has no other special moves, and there's no way it's going to activate the self-destruct before it has enough special points. So we're not going to deal with that, because that's just going to add more clutter to the screen. As you can see, it's already pretty messy, and I've done my best wire managing. And then animation finished, you know where that is, right here. And then end turn is just going to take us back into the main menu. And now we'll be able to technically battle it out forever, even if our health is at 0. Because, you know, that's how it do. Now, one thing that I didn't think about when I was doing this is that we could actually use these health managers as a way to show up if we win or lose or not. So that's what I'm gonna go and do. Actually no, that's not what I'm gonna do, because you can both be dead, and if you're both dead then you technically lost. So no, I'm not gonna do that. But H is gonna happen if either of us are dead. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to get a combiner, and this way we can do just a single calculator, and health percent is going to plug into A for the friendly, and health percent will plug into B on the friendly. Or no, wait, oh, and we also forgot to plug in the special percent into our special points menu node right here. Special points. I keep making mistakes. I don't know why. I'm just tired, I guess. I do have the sniffles, which is really annoying. Especially really annoying to record with. It's not pleasant to listen to. Glad you could bear through it. Okay, so we got the combiner here, and now we just need the calculator. And what we're going to do is equal 0. And what this is going to do is, if either of these equals 0, it's going to output on that signal if it's 0 or not. So now this is going to go ahead and take us to our endgame screen, which is H. And I really, really don't want to wire manage anymore, but I will for the sake of the tutorial. And I know it's taking up a lot of time. I'll try my best to speed through the parts where I don't talk and I'm wire managing, so yeah. Okay, come on. There we go. It seems really complicated, but it's just a lot of simple systems put together. So if you know how to add things together, you're pretty good. And now we need to decide if, you know, if both players are dead, or if it's just one or the other. So we're going to go ahead and split this, and what we're going to do, we're going to get an AND gate, Actually, you know what? If both of these... So we're gonna get an AND gate, and we can't have died, and the other player needs to have died, and that would be win. And then if the other player has died, or if we have died at all, then we lose. So what we're gonna go and do is, or actually, just trying to think. So if we're dead, then we lose. If we are not dead and the other person is dead, then we win. So I'm gonna go and do that now. Just gonna grab one of these, actually. Shoot. I'm gonna turn off grid. Then I'm gonna change this color to green. Win. And of course, I'm gonna allow rotation on the second to last menu option. Make it big. Rotate. And copy this to get the lose. And change that to red. Okay. And this AND gate's gonna go into win. And the other, if we're dead, we lose. Okay. Alright. So now, this should technically be working. I think. I don't know why this is turned off. Oh, because we don't have any special points at the beginning. That's why. I'm just being stupid. So yeah, this should be finished. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the music and let's give it a try. Oh, he missed me. Can't BFG yet. Ah, you know what? I think I messed up a little bit. I forgot to give the turn cycle. So, what we're gonna go ahead and do is, when the enemy ends their turn, it switches the turn cycle. And I'm not gonna bother the wire. No, yes I am. I'm such a smuck. That's a good word for it, yeah. Okay, that's good enough. See, now we get special points. And I'm gonna wait one more turn to use mine. I don't think he's hitting me. Like, the health manager's not. Yeah, it's mostly working, so I don't think I used the health managers correctly on this guy. Yeah, we didn't move them. Oops. Yeah, we just need to move them over onto the player himself. At least these two. I don't know why I didn't do that. I don't know. Okay. That special attack missed, don't know. I missed him twice in a row with the dude. I want to see you self-destruct. Come on. There we go. Now I lost because self-destruct. Alright. Well, that was this tutorial. If you want to see more in the turn-based mechanics series, go ahead and let me know in the comments. If you want to see any other tutorial, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, I have a Patreon if you're interested in helping me out with that. Got a lot of financial troubles recently, so that all of it helps a lot. I want to thank you all. I want to thank my patrons, of course. I want to start putting up a list of my patrons, but I'm not sure how to exactly do that in Sony Vegas. So yeah, I hope you all have a great day. Bye. Bye, everyone.